The etiology of rabies. The rabies virus belongs to the genus Licia virus, which currently includes 7 different versions. Rabies is an RNA virus, and its genome contains 5 proteins: nucleoprotein, phosphoprotein, matrix protein, Licia protein, and polymerase. The arrangement of RNA and these proteins determine the bullet shape. The major structure components are helical ribonucleoprotein core and the surrounding envelope. Licia protein forms around 400 trimetric spikes that are arranged on the surface of the virus. Rabies is approximately 180 nanometers long and 75 nanometers wide.
Reservoir of rabies. Rabies is known as a zoonosis, which is an infectious disease of animals that can naturally be transmitted to humans. Several distinct rabies virus variants have been identified in terrestrial mammals, including raccoons, skunks, dogs, and foxes. In addition to these terrestrial reservoirs, several species of bats are also reservoirs for rabies.
The transmission of rabies. The transmission of rabies virus usually begins when infected saliva of a host is passed to an uninfected animal or human. The most common mode of rabies virus transmission is through the bite and virus-containing saliva of an infected host. Once the person is infected, the virus travels to the brain, moving within the nerves after a human or animal is bitten. Infected immediately once they're bitten. There is an incubation period that lasts anywhere from a few weeks to months. A bite by the animal during the incubation period does not carry a risk of rabies because the virus has not yet made it to the saliva. Late in the disease, after the virus has reached the brain and multiplied there to cause an inflammation of the brain, it moves from the brain to the salivary glands and saliva.
Signs and symptoms of rabies. Rabies symptoms start small and subtle. The disease itself has an incubation period of several weeks, and as the disease progresses, so do the symptoms. Rabies symptoms occur in 3 different phases. The first phase, called the prodromal phase, resembles symptoms of the flu or any common illness, which includes fever, headache, nausea, soreness, or general discomfort. Pain, sensation of cold, and irritation or itching and tingling can also occur in the bitten area. Other symptoms include excessive salivation, dilated pupils, high pulse, and shallow breathing. The next phase is referring to the excitation phase, where the symptoms have progressed and become more severe to the point where it affects the person's emotional well-being. This phase is noted by the onset of depression and paralysis, as well as increased anxiety. There is also weakness of the muscle groups in the bite area, as well as difficulty swallowing. This phase is also where the onset of hydrophobia occurs. This occurs because of the painful and traumatic occurrences that follow when the patient tries to swallow liquids, which in turn causes spasmodic contractions of the throat muscles. If death does not occur because of this symptom, the patient is likely to experience dehydration. The last phase is called the paralytic phase. At this point, hydrophobia has dissipated and the patient is able to drink liquids normally. The onset of progressive paralysis occurs and the patient progresses to a coma. Peripheral vascular collapse or cardiovascular failure occurs and the patient dies.
The treatment of rabies. Rabies is 100% preventable in humans with the appropriate medical care. However, people are still dying from this virus all the time because of the lack of medical care given to infected individuals. Once the rabies virus is established, there is no known effective treatment. This is why it is so important that if you have been bitten by an infected animal, you should seek medical attention immediately. If not treated, rabies is extremely fatal. You start by receiving a fast-action immune globulin shot near the site of transmission, and then receive 4 different injections over the first 14 days after transmission. This will effectively stop the virus from spreading to the brain and into the salivary glands. To the side is a chart with the rabies vaccines and immunoglobulin available in the United States. It shows the type of vaccine, such as the human diphtheria, and then the actual name of it. It then shows the route that the vaccine is given. In most cases, intramuscular and local infusion at the wound site. The chart also shows when these vaccines are given, either pre-exposure or post-exposure. Prevention and control of rabies. The big question is, what can you do to prevent and control the rabies virus? Although getting bitten by a ravenous infected animal isn't controllable at times, there are a few things you can do. If you have pets, you should get them vaccinated immediately. You should also be careful when you're animating around so that you do not get infected by an unvaccinated animal. You should also report any stray animals to the animal control that may be wandering around that could potentially spread the rabies virus to other animals. We should also help to enhance access of those bitten to appropriate medical care and educate people at risk. If you know someone that has been bitten by an animal, you should warn them of the dangers of rabies and help them get access to a medical facility to be tested and to receive treatment injections before the virus can be established and spread to the salivary glands.
Some interesting facts about rabies include only 6 people die from rabies. One person every 10 minutes dies in Africa and Asia. 90% of rabies cases in the U.S. are from wildlife. And 60,000 people die a year from